I'm going to be doing the final testing protocol on this blue DSi XL. Need to quickly look over my notes here. Irritating. Ooh. This is the special one. Okay. 1.4U motherboard. No known issues. I'll get what this means here in a second. So I do want to... I just need to triple check this, actually. So I actually have a box for this console that I might try, that I'll probably try and sell with the console. The box itself isn't in that great a shape, but it shares the serial number. So let me see about this dust under the top screen. There's a few good specs up there. So just because there's specs up there doesn't necessarily mean that's a problem. It's when they block light from a pixel, that's when it becomes a problem. That one kind of is. Yeah, I'll see if I can at least... There's some small ones, but I don't think it's anything too crazy. There's one right here. And the one up here looks a lot worse in my camera than it does actually in person. Didn't want to do that. Probably gonna have to take off take apart the top screen shell to get that piece of adhesive back under. More or less ready to do that anyway. I can at least see if I got it better. Hmm? Yeah, a little. Sometimes I can get away with just pulling the lens off with the suction cup. Other times it will yank the adhesive out, which, if you're not prepared to take apart this shell, it's not really worth it. What's the shape of the bottom shell? This is a special serial board. I was wondering if I should maybe find one of my Japanese top shell pieces. I haven't wiped it off, so it's going to have a lot of my fingerprints on it. But actually, this glossy shell piece isn't that bad. I've gotten a lot of Japanese consoles recently that are in amazing shape, but from what I understand, since they've just been sitting in storage for so long, their screens have just completely yellowed. My understanding is you can potentially replace the LCD or the backlight polarizer, because I've been told that's what actually yellows, and you can revive a screen that way. I haven't done it yet. Pulling apart these screens has usually been a death sentence. I should maybe try that on one of my junker screens just to see if I can get it back together. So to get this screen out of the shell but not actually take the whole thing apart, just gonna relieve some tension areas. Mainly taking out the camera so it doesn't bend. And then it's gonna be popping at the screen from the back here. I'm gonna have to take out the speakers as well. This is not something I would recommend. I'm doing it because I reinforced my top screen ribbon cables with Kapton tape. You can kind of see it poking out right there. I feel a lot more confident that it will survive. If I did a jerking movement either way, that could potentially be very bad. Ooh, I'm taking the adhesive with me. Okay. Now I can try and get as much of this dust off as I can. That is a much easier said than done. I think that's pretty good. In order to get my lens aligned, I need to put it back in the shell. And it being face down should protect it from dust. Should being the key word there. I'm going to assume that's good for now. I'm just going to want to get this top shell back together. At least somewhat cleaned up. I do want to check it, but just kind of Make sure I don't accidentally pinch anything that doesn't want to be pinched. Ooh, that looks really good. I'll kind of show it. Pretty much every speck that you're seeing is falling on there right now. There's one right there. Can I see that one? No. I think it's good. I'll look at it a little closer once I get this top screen back together. Top shell back together. But I usually don't leave notes like that for no reason. I didn't see it when I first looked at the console, but I'm going to trust that I had some idea. I knew what I was talking about. Let's get these speakers back rerouted. I think if I remember correctly, I think I got this, at least the shell of this console, from a lot that came with a charging dock, which I didn't even know the DSi's XL had charging docks. I still have it somewhere. I think it's just the coolest thing. It was well worth buying the lot for, just for the novelty of that thing. I'll have to figure out how I want to price everything with the box. I don't even know if a box will fit in my normal shipping envelopes. I might have to ship it in a box, which will incur some higher costs. Oh, that's a problem for later. Just gonna quickly wipe off the little inner lens for the camera. I'm not going to put the tape down on this conductive copper tape. I'm pretty sure Nintendo does that for grounding. But I found that even if I do tape it down, it doesn't restore continuity between these 2 points. Like, I'll even just do that testing again. I don't think I did it on my new meter. So yeah, I squished it down as much as I could, but I'm not getting continuity between them. Ooh? Did I touch the camera units? Nah. So even if I were to put a little bit of tape down on it, it's not going to do anything. And I'm not going to try and like solder these things down. I haven't heard of that being an issue at all. It's possible. I do have dead camera units. I don't know how it happened. Most of the time it's from just aggressive liquid damage, but that's not really something a little piece of conductive copper tape is going to protect against. That is those nice and squeaky clean. Okay, now let's really look at this top screen. Now there is this one speck underneath. There are a couple very light specks. Very... And again, it's kind of hard to tell when dust is actively falling on it. But the most important thing about that is if I can see any of them, if they block any of the subpixels. Which I don't see any. Neither am I picking up anything on the camera. Ooh, I'm gonna want to test for that real quick. So I'm quickly testing for image retention. Also, the motherboard version is not matching my records. I'll have to double check that these motherboards match. So what I was testing is if the image of the top screen would be retained if you hold the DSi Sound app open for like 90 or so seconds and then open the settings. You should be able to see a pretty clear imprint of the setting or the DSi Sound app in the settings background. I did that because I could kind of detect top screen flickering It's really hard to tell though. It's one of those things that I don't know if it's just my eyes doing that. I don't think it is. Do I have another app I can use to... I can run a tester program. I'm gonna probe this a little more before I get too far. So I'm just gonna leave it like that for a little bit. Because I've associated upper screen flickering, or just screen flickering in general, with image retention. I don't know if there's a correlation. I'm still kind of in very early testing in regards to that. I only have 2 screens of the 50 or so consoles. Well, I have to say it's probably over 100 consoles at this point that I've worked on. I've only had 2 screens. So it should... I would assume it would be a lot more common than that given the age of these consoles, but... bit hard to say. Just one of those, I don't have enough information. Okay, it's been a couple of minutes. It's not leaving an imprint. I may have been seeing that. Just seeing things type of deal. It was very hard to tell. Because now I'm not detecting it. Now, this is not exactly a surefire symptom, at least as far as I've been able to tell, but you can kind of see there's the imprint of, I think that is this, if that's my test pattern or the sound app, I actually need to verify. Okay, yeah, that was the background of the sound app. You can kind of see it as I do my soft resets. That's not exactly an indicator that the screen is failing, but that does at least lend some evidence to what I was seeing was sort of the screen just like jittering in and out. I don't have to think about what I want to do about this. I might just have to put this console aside until I get more information on how I can diagnose the screen flickering. Because right now it's guesswork. And if I okay it and it still ends up being a problem, then, well, that's a bad look on me. The other option is just swapping out this top screen and putting this top screen sort of in a pile of like test case screens, which I might have to do until I can really nail down if that's an aging screen that needs to just be put away or thrown away. There's just nothing I can do about it. Let's just say a top screen replacement is going to be quite the venture. I was kind of thinking about how I might do a top screen replacement. Truthfully, I think it would almost be easier just to find a top screen that's good and then find a bottom screen replacement. Bottom screens are a lot easier to swap out than the top screen is, just how they sit inside the shell. I need some space. This is going to be quite the hell of an endeavor. Just when I got all the dust out from underneath the top screen lens. I may have to forego the final assessment for a little bit because this is going to take some time. Just going to have to mark this as assembling. Keep that in there. That doesn't need to go anywhere. I can at least verify the serial number if it matches. And I just wrote down the wrong version number. Oh, it is the wrong serial. Wrong motherboard. Huh. Wonder why that happened. Well, my records on this motherboard have no known issues. So that's good. I am going to need this. So I'm going to be matching bottom shells, bottom screens. Something to hold the battery. There is a new digitizer. I'll hopefully see if I can just reuse this bottom screen. It's already set up for a blue console. I'll just have to swap the lens on whatever top screen I chose. Or the top screen I choose, because all of my top screens that I have left have bad lenses. Let's just completely separate this motherboard. And I'll deal with this top section later. I guess I can re-plug back in the bottom screen. At least for the first boot, to see if the first top screen I choose is good. Okay. Well, let's see. There's some kind of concerning creases on this top screen. I think the way that I was storing them wasn't very good. Also, one of the screens bit me. Or pulled back the skin. Huzzah! There's a dark spot right there. I don't think that's part of the lens. I think that's below the actual pixels, meaning that this screen is dead. Or there's really nothing I can do about that. I can try cleaning it. I really don't think... Let me get a closer look. So there's that speck right there. That does not look like a piece of dust. At least nothing that I've seen before. Go back to white screens. Yep. So that's on... So whatever that speck is, it's on the diffusion layer. It's below the actual LCD. Nice. Okay. Which, unless I want to be brave enough to start opening up these actual screens. Then I'm not going to say this thing is garbage, but I can't use it in its current state. I do have another red one, though, that has been, oof, really chewed up. Hacked by a knife. Look over the ribbon cable. Looks fine. I'll probably have to sort of take out all of my top screens and store them a little nicer now that I know that I basically can't get replacements. These things are worth their weight in gold. Wow, that's a blue top screen, all right. Let me turn off the light. Doesn't really show, but just compared to the bottom screen, that's really blue. Other than, yeah, and you can see all those scratches are showing up while the console's on. That is automatically a fail for me. So now let me see if I have any bottom screens that will match it. I thankfully have a stack of screens that have good digitizers on them. So now it's ones that are just trying to find that have a good pairing with the top screen. So I have this one marked as blue. That one marked as blue. This one marked as cool. It does have a blue bezel on it, so I want to try it first. What about this one? This one doesn't. More blue. This one doesn't have a bezel on it. I might try it as well. So there's no real science to this. It's just going to be trial and error until I find one that I think matches. Which is about as subjective and annoying as it sounds. So this one's a good one. I marked it as cool. So I'll try the blue one first. Because if it does match pretty well, then that saves me a lot of work. LCD in, and then the backlight. Check these speakers. It's kind of a side tangent. Okay. I thought I only heard sound out of one of them. No, then I need to find a more blue bottom screen. I think I'll have to go for one of my blue ones. I think the rest of these are either warm or... Oh, here's my image retention screen. Sort of the one I probably shouldn't be mixing in this pile of good screens. That's sort of my test screen for how I may diagnose that problem further. Yeah, so let's do the actual blue screens. I wouldn't necessarily call that blue, but this top screen is pretty aggressively blue. Let's try my other blue one. I'm guessing... I hope I didn't try putting this one in a green console. The bezel's still a little dirty. Cruddied up from whatever afflicted that console when I bought it. Wow. Yeah, even relatively speaking, any of these screens that I'm marking as blue, they almost don't even come close. Like this one, I could probably pass if I really can't find any others. This one's pretty good. It almost doesn't even come up in my camera, but if turning on the light would help. Not really. It is pretty noticeable, at least from what I can tell, just holding it in front of my face. Battery bay does not like letting go of those batteries. I don't think this battery is... Looks fine. It's not inflating. I'll try my last screen here that I have marked as more blue. Oh, that one's a lot better. Nice. Okay. I'm really happy with that. Wow. So in my very vague terms of more blue and blue, I can only really classify them relative to whatever top screen I'm looking at, whatever motherboard I have, all of which could play a factor. The lighting in this room, if I have this, I usually turn off my little overhead light, but this is just so subjective that, like, what I saw as blue on one console will look more red on another console. So this one, even though I didn't classify it fully as blue, more blue is like leaning cool, but not like blue is like, holy cow, that screen is very leaning heavily towards blue or cool, however you want to classify it as. So for whatever reason on this layout, this bottom screen is definitely leaning the most blue that I've seen it. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. This is going to become quite a bit of a task that I don't necessarily have the time for. I was hoping I could just do a final testing score, but this project has definitely evolved into an assembly. So I'm going to have to cut this into another part.